Hello everyone. So today I'm here to discuss the psychology paper, psychology CBSE paper held on 5th of March. So 2025-2026 psychology paper. So I'll quickly go on to I'll share the presentation wherein you will find all the questions, and then we'll discuss the paper quickly with all the keywords and the MCQ so you know exactly what was expected from the question. So let's begin. So as usual, section A, you can see it was MCQ. The first question, Neha always scores well in school assessment and is appreciated for her sharp critical ability, reasoning, analytical thinking, and they're talking about school assessment. And which type of intelligence? So it is Sternberg's intelligence, and you know the correct answer would be componential intelligence for this question. Next, a teacher notices that one of her usually calm and respectful student behaves aggressively in a during a group activity. So now which dynamic is playing a part? So it's obviously option number D, situationism. Next, Rohan failed an important exam. Instead of accepting that he didn't prepare well, he insists that the teacher was biased and the exam was unfair. Which defense mechanism is Rohan using? Now, firstly, he did not accept, and secondly, he insisted. He is rationalizing that the teacher was biased and the exam was unfair. Option C, rationalization. Meera always felt left out, low, and incompetent as a child because her elder sibling were more successful, and now she works extremely hard to be the best in every task she takes up. So, according to Adler, this behavior is basically Neha is suffering from an inferiority complex. Next, which concept is based on Bandura's social learning theory? So, social learning theory is based on self-efficacy. Now, match the following. So let's see, continued exposure to the same stressor or additional stress, which drains out the body's resources. So draining out the body's resources. So one will go for option number 2. So we have only one option where one matches for 2. Then 2 will go for 3. That is burnout, mental exhaustion, irritability. So 2 will go for option 3. So the correct answer is option B for this match the fall column. Next, use the correct option as the appropriate place. The white blood cell within the immune system is obviously leukocytes. We all know that. And the destroy the foreign bodies dash such as viruses. So what are viruses? They are antigens. So option D is the correct answer. Next, in the following question, the statement assertion reasoning question, this is generally a little confusing, but this was a bit clear. Let's see. Creative visualization helps in managing stress by using imagination, mental imagery. Correct statement. It is more effective when the mind is quiet, the body is relaxed, and the eyes are closed, as this minimizes distraction and enhances focus. This is also a correct statement. So the option has to be in between A and B. Now, if you see the reasoning statement, if you are in a relaxed, if you are relaxed, if your body is relaxed, mind is quiet, obviously, then creative visualization becomes more effective. It is more beneficial. It's more effective. It happens, in a much better way, and it really helps in managing stress. So obviously, the reason explains the assertion, and at the same time, both the statements are correct. So we will go for option number A. 10. Dash is characterized by widespread impairments in social interaction communication. Impairments in social interaction and communication, the keyword itself tells that it's none other than autism spectrum disorder. Next, your friend failed an important test. You sit with him or her, listen to his or her feeling, and try to understand the experience without judgment. So if you're listening to the friend's experience without any judgment. So basically, you're trying to understand your friend from her or his perspective. That's empathy, option B. A therapist working with children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder gives them a star sticker each time they complete a task. So they have to keep on collecting that star sticker to exchange it with some toys. So it is a token economy. So what are they doing? They're collecting tokens. Next. According to the concept of balance proposed by Fritz Heder, imbalance is found when? Now, imbalance is found when all the three sides of the triangle are negative. So this is the correct answer. And when two sides of the triangle are positive and one is negative. So 1 and 3 is correct. So in this case, the option C is the right one. Question 14. In an attitude change, when the change is in the same direction as the existing attitude. For example, a positive attitude may become more positive or a negative attitude may become more negative. So in the same direction. So basically the correct answer is congruency. So we're done with your MCQs. Now let's move on to section B. Identify two differences between psychometric theory and information processing approach of intelligence. Now, all of us know that basically psychometric theory and information processing approach, it's been asked from unit chapter 1, that is intelligence. So what happens? Basically, see, two differences they have asked. So psychometric approach, you have to write about, it talks about the aggregate ability of an intelligence, and there is a single index of cognitive ability, right? And when it comes to information processing approach, we'll tell that it describes people, how they use, what are the processes they are using while intellectual reasoning and problem solving. So they focus on how an intelligent person acts rather than the structure. So for psychometric 2 points, then you have information processing 2 points and you are sorted. Now, the part B, the optional question is, so it's question number 16. Question number 16 has two parts. Part A, that is find out the IQ of a 14-year-old child with a mental age of 60. So IQ is MA by CA into 100. So you will write the formula, then you will write the number 16 by 14 into 100. That's 114 approximately. It is actually coming 114.28 something. So you can write 140. Okay, then next part is differentiate between a verbal and a non-verbal test. So this is also intelligence from intelligence chapter. And so a verbal test is a test wherein language is important and the person who is illiterate cannot take the test, and language is a major barrier in this test, that type of a test, okay? Or if it is written in some kind of a language which we are not aware about, so we cannot take that kind of a test. Non-verbal, whereas it does not require any language. So we have images, we have some kind of like, matrices which we can solve. So we have like RPM as the example. You can give example, but they had just asked about like what are the differences. So see, generally in differences, you should write the points along with the example. That would fetch you a very clear and a very good marks, like full marks, okay? So for a non-verbal test, there is language is not a barrier at all. Okay, let's go to the next question. That is question number 17. Somatic symptom disorder and illness anxiety disorder, they are concerned with a medical illness, yet they are different. Okay, so we have to talk about the difference using a relevant example. So relevant example, basically, you can just mention that if a person is suffering from somatic symptom disorders, or mostly they will have body related symptoms without any serious medical condition. But what makes it worse is their frequent visit to the doctor is a cause of distress and it hampers their daily functioning. Now, at the same time, when another person suffers from illness anxiety disorder, here it is a little different, okay? So what happens, the person is always preoccupied, like developing a serious illness, and is always worrying, okay, always worrying, and is always concerned about undiagnosed diseases. So that's how you will write the difference between the two. Next, question number 18. Specify any two processes that help in attitude formation and explain how it occurs. So attitude formation, you can talk about like learning attitude through association and give an example. Like if a person likes a particular teacher, then if the teacher is teaching a particular subject, so automatically there's a liking towards that subject. Then you have a learning attitude by being rewarded and punished, okay? So obviously if a person is rewarded, then the attitude learning becomes much more stronger as compared to when the person is punished. Question number 19. Priya feels a strong sense of belonging and emotional attachment with her childhood family dance group, but when she joined the school council, she followed rules and communicated formally with its members. Now, there are two things Ria is doing. She's associated with two groups. The first group which she is associated with is basically an informal group. Why? Because there, no scheduled meetings are there. It is not something which, she's doing very systematically in an organized way. Whereas when she joined the school council, there, she is doing things, she's following all the rules and regulation. There are norms which she's following. So it's a part of a formal group. Now, if you talk about the next section, section C, Rohan, a 10-year-old diagnosed with intellectual deficiency as per AAMD guidelines, is supported. Now, based on this identification, you have to write two common features which AAMD guidelines specify. So here the specifications are, so you can write the full form of AAMD first thing, and then the first feature is a significantly sub-average intellectual functioning. Person having IQ below 70 are judged to have a sub-average intelligence. Okay. Then there is a major deficit in adaptive behavior, which refers to the person's capacity to be independent and deal with effectively with environment. That is also a deficit. Okay. So any two, there are three features over there. You can just write any two. Next, 21. Ria is on a strict diet because she wants to stay healthy and prepare for her upcoming school sports competition. One evening, she opens the fridge and sees a big, delicious chocolate cake that her mom made for her family dinner the next day. She immediately feels the urge to eat it, but plans to eat it after the sports competition. So, this is a case which has been given, and then, as per the case, what you have to see is you have to check the Freud's theory of id ego and superego and explain what's happening over here. So, firstly, you will mention that id works on pleasure principle, ego works on reality principle, superego works on morality principle. Then you will talk about the immediate urge, which Ria develops on opening the fridge that I should eat the chocolate cake. That's basically the id. Now she realized, no, well, let's not eat the cake now. Let's have finish the competition. So whatever weight I have to manage, I'll do it and finish the competition. Then after that, I can have the cake. Or maybe she's planning to have a little bit of cake once when the dinner is actually planned, whatever it is the case. But she is actually delaying her immediate gratification, which means that she is working on the reality. She's understanding the situation, she's understanding the current reality, and then she's delaying her immediate gratification. And now when it comes to morality, here basically she's not talking much about morality. Okay. So either we can leave morality section, or if you feel the urge of writing about morality, then it's basically that she's so dedicated towards the sports competitions to be held. And she is so ethical about, she is ethically managing her weight to be a part of that sports competition. So that is her morality. That is the superego. Now, question number 22. Again, you have option over here. The first question is individuals show consistent individual differences in coping strategies to handle stressful situations. These can include both overt and covert activities. So Endler and Parker has given three coping strategies. So this is very like direct question. So you should know Endler Parker has given task oriented, emotion oriented, and avoidance oriented. So you would just have to discuss these three. Okay, and then the second part of the question is Ruchika is very stressed as she must prepare for her music competition. For her medical examination, suggest Ruchika four techniques to manage her stress. So the four techniques over here are meditation procedure, creative visualization, relaxation technique, biofeedback. Write them and explain them. Okay. Next, Rina constantly think I must succeed at everything or I am failure, which causes her distress when she makes small mistakes. How can rational emotive therapy help Rina overcome her psychological distress? Mention three steps involved in rational emotive therapy. Now, firstly, you will write who has given rational emotive therapy. Then you will talk about that rational emotive therapy works on the principle of ABC analysis, antecedent, belief, consequence. So here the irrational belief system is that I must do everything perfectly. This is the thing which is going on in Reena's mind. You can see the question that I must succeed at everything, I am or I am a failure. So this is basically the thing which is making her worry. So the irrational beliefs are assessed through questionnaires and interviews. And in this process of RET, what happens? We'll talk about that. We'll discuss that process basically in the answer. That is, you will talk about that non-directive questions are being asked by the therapist, and this manner of asking the questions is gentle and without probing. And so what happens slowly, the client is able to make changes in this irrational thought process and change the philosophy about life. And the rational belief system replaces the irrational belief system, and there is a reduction in psychological distress. That's how the therapy takes place. Okay. Now, coming to section D, again, elaborate on the concept of buddhi and specify how intelligence as an Indian tradition, it was connectivity with the social, I'm so sorry, social and environmental world. So you have the components of intelligence. It's again from chapter number 1. So you have the components of intelligence. So you have to write all the 4 components of intelligence and describe them with the help of an example. No, example is not required over here. Only the 4 components are to be explained over here. Now, second part is individuals who are categorized as having intellectual disability show significant variations in their abilities, ranging from those who can be taught to work and function with special attention to those who cannot be trained and require institutional care throughout their lives. Identify their categories. So basically here, the question is demanding that table. If you remember in your NCERT book, there is a table. So the intellectual disorders ranges from, it is like it's range basically below 70, it starts, right? So you have mild, moderate, severe, profound. So you have to talk about these 4 categories and what are the like functions a person can perform and what are the functions the person cannot perform. And also you have to mention their IQ range, approximate IQ range. Next, Ritika has been feeling anxious, socially withdrawn, and unable to manage her daily routine. She decides to see a psychotherapist. Over the course of several sessions, she begins to feel heard and supported. Based on this, elaborate the factors that contribute to Ritika's psychological healing through psychotherapy. The major, factors or which contributes in the healing in the psychotherapy, the characteristics like the client and the therapist relationship. Now the type of questioning. So these things we have to mention over here. Next, prejudice can be difficult to change due to its deep-rooted source. Imagine you are working on a community outreach program aiming to reduce prejudice. How would you explain the main causes that lead to development of prejudice? So the main causes of development of prejudice is like when there is no group interactions, right? When we sometimes learn prejudice. So all the factors, this is again a direct question. You have all the factors which are the causes of prejudice that you have to mention over here. Yes. Okay. Now, next question, question number 27. During an inter-school science exhibition, Ria, who usually worked efficiently when alone, noticed a drop in her productivity. So, alone she works well, notice a drop in her productivity when working with a team. So, what is the social phenomena? So, to talk about that, then the social phenomena here which is taking place is social loafing. Her friend Arjun, however, performed much better during the final group presentation than he did during the rehearsal. So that is the social facilitation which is happening. Meanwhile, during a debate on a climate change, the group members who initially had mild views became more extreme after discussing the views with others. So what happens here is group polarization is happening. While playing a tug of war, only Ria's teammates contributed less efforts in the group tasks compared to working alone. So, in a tug of war, again, it is social looping which is taking place over here. Next, section E. Direct techniques of personality assessment come with their own drawbacks, especially related to social desirability. In such a condition, suggest other methods of personality assessment which can tap the unconscious of the individual. So now see, they have asked you any four such effective technique. Firstly, you have to understand that they are talking about the which type of technique. They are talking about the technique which is projective technique. So first you will define what is a projective technique, and then you can take any four projective technique and describe them. Like Rorschach blot test, thematic apperception test, Rosenwig picture frustration test, sentence completion test. For example, let me tell you what all need to be written in each of this test. Now, for example, first, if I take Rosenwig's picture ink blot, Rorschach ink blot test. Rorschach ink blot test. So I will tell that who has given the test, that is Herman Rorschach. Then we'll talk how many cards are there. Then we'll talk about what is the type of administration. Okay. So there is first is like only the administration of the cards are there. Then second is the second stage is the inquiry. So we'll talk about this. Okay. Then and we'll describe the card like there is a blot of inks which need to be like interpreted by the participant as shown to them. Similarly, we'll move on to the second test, thematic perception, Rosenwig's picture frustration, and sentence completion. Okay. Uh, then the B part of this question is, while simple and appealing type theories truly capturing the uniqueness of every individual or oversimplifying the rich diversity of human personality are debatable. Type theories attempt to place individuals into distinct categories based on shared characteristics. Many type theories have shaped how we view personality. Elaborate on the theories of type approach. Okay. Now, so basically, they want you to write about the type approaches. It's a 6-mark question, so you have to write all the type approaches. Now, see, so you'll start with Hippocrates, which typology, the 4 fluids. Then you will talk about Charak Samhita, talk about the 3 gunas and the three doshas. Then you will talk about Sheldon's typology, the body type. Then you will talk about the Jung's typology of extrovert introvert. Then Friedman's and Rosenman's typology of type A and type B, then later type C and type D was added. Who gave it was not there in NCERT, so don't worry about it. Just only write Rosenman and Friedman gave type A and type B. So you have to not only mention, but describe them. Okay. Next. Okay. Ravi has been showing signs of extreme social withdrawal and erratic mood swings. As a psychology student, how would you apply different approaches, models, factors to understand? So you will talk about the psychodynamic approach, behavioral approach, humanistic existential approach, and then explain that how social withdrawal and erratic mood swings can be explained. So basically, if it is a psychodynamic explanation, in that case, so any kind of a childhood trauma can cause it, any kind of a defense mechanism, any conflicts between the defense mechanism or fixations in the psychosexual stages of development, it can lead to all these things. Mood, when it comes to second approach, that is behavioral, that means it has been learned. It has been learned. Then it comes to humanistic existential, that means there is certain the person is not able to find out the meaning in one's life. That's how there's a social withdrawal or erratic mood swing. So you will explain the models and move on. Next, psychological disorders have come a long way in their journey of understanding and treatment of disorders. To understand psychological disorders, we would require a brief historical account. So they want you to write the historical account, how these disorders have been viewed over the ages. So you will start from that era wherein your conventional type, like when people used to think that it's all about like demonology, spirits and that. Okay, so you will start from that era and slowly move on to the period like you have to talk about all. like then organismic approach, then your biological approach, then institution reform, renaissance, everything. And you have to end with your psychosocial approach, which is the contemporary approach to explain any kind of a psychological disorder. Okay. Next is the last section, section F, that is the case study. So two case studies are given. The first case study is basically talking about that Ritu is a girl who is preparing for her final board exam. Now, she's academically bright and wants to secure a scholarship for college. Now, at the same time, she is also she's constantly comparing herself with her peers who seem to be doing better, which causes her to feel caught between her wishes and desire and hence feels inadequate. At home, her parents have high expectations and reminds her frequently that she must top the class, adding to her own increasing self-demands. So, and then she is also caught in a conflict because she has to choose a career which she's passionate about and what her parents want her to do. So, as a result, there is certain changes in her behavior, that is irritability experiences, frequent headache, trouble sleeping, and feels emotionally exhausted. Let's see what are the questions. Based on the symptom described, identify the type of stress Ritu is experiencing. So basically, the type of stress which she is experiencing is a psychological stress because she is facing an internal conflict, external conflict, internal pressures, external pressure at the same time. There are certain conflicting situations also. Now, 31, mention one emotional and one psychological effect of stress she may be going through. So the effects are given at the end of the case study, where you can see the emotional effect is irritability and emotional exhaustion, and psychological effect are frequent headache and trouble sleeping. Next case study, you have Shreya. Shreya's parents brought her to the school counselor after noticing these symptoms. There are four symptoms noticed. Weight loss, in the past 8 months, noticeable weight loss. Skipping meals, avoiding dinners, constant complaints of too fat. So there is an issue of body image, but despite she appears to be very underweight, still she feels that she's too fat. Loss of energy, irritability, frequent mood swings. Shreya herself insisted that everything is fine, expressing frustration about being forced to discuss her eating habit. What is Shreya suffering from? So it is anorexia nervosa. And then what are the other, identify and explain. So you have to identify, not only name them, but explain them, the various other forms of this disorder. So the major classification is eating disorder, and within this, the other two are bulimia nervosa and binge eating. So here what we have to do is we have to mention and also explain that how anorexia nervosa is different from bulimia nervosa and how it is different from binge eating that you can effectively do, right? So that's all for the analysis of psychology paper. Overall, my feeling is the psychology paper was very balanced and the MCQs were quite easy. And it was much more easier because you had only one assertion reasoning question and mostly direct questions, because the students were mostly, apprehensive about the assertion reasoning question. When it comes between, have to choose between option A or B, we tend to get confused. So in this case, the paper was good, balanced. So I hope everybody has done good. And the analysis helps us, understand the expected answer for this question. Okay. So, okay, all the best.